In 2020, I watched one of my first anime called Attack on Titan, which showcased death, sadness, brutality, hope, faith, and passion. Overall, it really hit home for me. The themes, the characters, the action, the character development, all of it was just so beautiful to me. And to this day, no show has ever hit me hard like Attack on Titan, especially the protagonist. No other protagonist has really affected me like Eren. Recently, the trailer for a new Attack on Titan game came out, and it has really rekindled a fire within me when it comes to the series, and obviously the main character, as well as how the ending of Attack on Titan played out nearly 3 years ago. And to this day, I despise the ending. I despise the way Isayama specifically wrote Eren, and I seriously can't believe how many people believe they understand Eren's character. The reason I believe people accept his character is because of chapter 139, which retcons Eren's character in every single way, and there is no justifying the way he was written in the ending. As I watched Attack on Titan and saw his character development from season 1 to season 4, it completely blew me away. I believe his character changed throughout the series, but mainly, I believe his target changed. So I'm doing what I should have done 3 years ago and expressing my thoughts and hard opinions on why Eren Yeager was my favorite protagonist in fiction up until chapter 139. In this video, I will be speaking about Eren's motivations, goals, and character development. I will also of course speak about other characters, but like I said, this video is specifically about Eren, since I also believe most of the characters before chapter 139 weren't written the best as well, but Eren was carrying the series at that time. I will be going over arguments I've heard to defend this ending, and I will also be speaking on what the true ending is and how it would have been a better ending than what we got. In the next video, let's begin. In the beginning of season 1, we are shown the first of Eren's goals, that being his desire to destroy all the Titans after seeing his mother being eaten by one, and his desire to see the sight in Armin's book, the ocean, which leads to Eren to express multiple times in the earlier seasons that he's tired of being within the walls. Even as a child, he can't stand the thought of being like cattle, in other words, a slave. Alongside Eren's goals, we also see his core character traits in season 1, and how Eren is a brave but impulsive soldier, whose motivations push him to do things that a regular soldier wouldn't do. For example, while being in the belly of a Titan, we see him expressing his goals to exterminate all Titans in passion, even while not knowing if he'll make it out or not. If it weren't for the attack Titan, Eren would have unfortunately succumbed to his wounds just like any other soldier. Just in this scene alone, we see that even on the verge of death, Eren will still keep pushing for his goals to come true. Please keep this in mind for the future. Now that we have established who Eren is as a character in season 1 and the goals he fights for, there are now multiple scenes that I like to bring up that displays foreshadowing. The foreshadowing will display mistakes Eren made early on as a character and how he repeated them, alongside Eren's growth as a character. The first is during the female Titan arc, specifically in chapter 25 while Eren and the scouts are being chased by Annie. Levi tells Eren that he's a true monster and that it has nothing to do with him having Titan powers. Levi continues by saying that no matter how much Eren is held back or what cage he's in, no one can force him to submit. 3 chapters later, we see Eren having the decision to choose between trusting in himself or his comrades to deal with the female Titan. This time, he entrusted his allies to take down the female Titan, which leads to their deaths, which prompts Eren to turn to a Titan to kill a female Titan, where he expresses his regret and how he should have fought with Levi. In other words, he should have trusted his own power. Again, remember this for when we go to season 4. We see Eren have a strong will during this season, but he chooses to be more dependent, trusting his friends or allies, instead of relying on his own strengths to reach his goals. Fast forwarding a bit to the last fight between Annie and Eren, we see Eren go berserk. Unlike the manga, Eren beats Annie and during the fight, he says a key line: he'll destroy the world, and that he's free. Peak scene, by the way. Overall, during season 1 we see Eren's character growing, but his goals staying the same. He still desires to reach the ocean, and he understands that he must destroy all Titans to reach his goal to achieve freedom. Again, I like to push that Eren's motivation for everything he's doing is freedom. This motivates him to destroy all Titans to reach the ocean, but eventually Eren will understand his true enemy. Another wall that stops Eren from having true freedom. the outside world. Now, in Season 3, before Eren kisses Historia's hand, he questions himself and asks what will he find, hope or despair, and he gets his answer. After kissing Historia's hand, Eren sees that the enemies aren't Titans, but it's Marley, the outside world that hates them and wants them destroyed. This is all due to Eren getting access to the basement and receiving memories from the past and the future, which leads us into the popular ocean scene finale of Season 3. There, we finally see that Eren's enemy has changed. Eren no longer sees the Titans as the one he must destroy, but rather his true enemy, who must be destroyed, is the outside world. And again, this is all due to him seeing his father's memories and his own future memories. It's a sad comparison seeing his friends react to the ocean happily, while he is depressed, knowing the memories he has seen could possibly soon come to pass. During Season 4, we see Eren's enemies have changed. His enemies are no longer Titans, but now his enemies are the outside world. One quick example is during Tiber's speech. Tiber's speech reveals how the outside world views Eldians. They view them as devils. Eren allows Tiber to first declare war, and he performs an attack on Marley. Now during the rumbling arc, Eren has revealed his true plan, to destroy all life outside the walls, to destroy the cycle of hatred, to protect his people at parity long term. Eren kinda hints at this during his conversation with Reiner, but then he outright says it to first Flock, Historia, and then he reveals it to all Eldians. There were other times where he spoke to himself in his mind and established his plan and why he had to do it. I like to bring attention to the fact that Eren understands he can't make the same mistake he made previously. He has to trust in his own power or else his people will be killed by his enemies. He couldn't trust Mikasa or Armin because they don't have what it takes to move forward. They would have most likely told the military his plans, which would have ended up making him sacrificing his story or choosing the other plans that was given to him. It was clear that he trusted Flock and Historia enough to let them know his true plan, which was again to destroy the cycle of hatred, which is racism the world has for all Eldians on parity, by wiping them all out, which would give them freedom. Eldians wouldn't have to fear being persecuted, treated like cattle, killed just for being born into the world. Now I've heard multiple times that Eren committing genocide is wrong, and he had other options. First of all, I understand it's morally wrong, but Eren had no other option. Isayama gave him no other option. All the other plans would have required him to sacrifice his friends' lives or the freedom of parody, and that conflicts with his beliefs. Eren starts the Roman because he rejects all the other plans. One will make Historia a slave, which was a 50-year plan. This plan will use a partial rumbling to stop any attack from the outside world so their military and the technology will grow. But like I said, Eren rejects this plan because this would sacrifice Historia and her descendants, forcing them to a cycle of inheriting titans and giving birth, making her a slave, and never ending the conflict of hatred. And then Zeke's plan, which was the euthanization plan, would wipe out his race. This plan would take away all Eldians' ability to have any children. So he did the rumbling so all these things wouldn't happen, and of course to receive freedom outside the walls. I will always find it insane how people who love the ending say Eren did the rumbling for selfish reasons. But no, he wanted to protect Historia, he wanted to protect his people long term. But just a quick recap. We see Eren's motivation slightly change from killing all Titans, but killing all human life in the outside world. Another note, people use chapter 131 to express Eren destroying the world simply because there were humans outside the walls. But this is simply a horrible understanding of the chapter. Eren doesn't even want to commit the rumbling. He wants to do any other option, but he can't. That's why he screams at Hanji to tell him to give him another option while he was in jail. That's why he cries before Ramsay, because he's worse than Reiner. He's going to commit murder on a much larger scale, and he's crying over a kid who's going to trample over in the near future, all to reach his goal, freedom. So no, it's not because Eren wanted to do the rumbling, but he simply wanted to be free. The outside world is going to take away his freedom, and the rumbling will give him freedom, but the rumbling will kill innocent people, including children. So he tries multiple times in the story to see if the future he saw could change, but everything Eren seen came to be. Mikasa said the same thing in his memories. The Eldian Right group played out just like his memories. Sasha said the same last words in his memories. So his disappointment came from seeing what he saw in his father's memories and him going over to Marley himself. That's what the ocean scene displays. The ocean scene and the scene with him talking to Ramsay go hand in hand. You just can't take the scene with Ramsay literally. If the outside world was not hostile and they didn't want to take away his freedom, Eren would have never done the rumbling. That wouldn't have been an option. But again, the outside world hated him and his people, so he had no choice. He had to do the rumbling to keep his people safe and secure. That was his only option. So again, it's not because Eren was a psychopath or insane, but it was because, yes, the world wasn't like Armin's book, but it wasn't just because humanity existed, but it's because there was no freedom outside the walls. Humanity was denying Eren's freedom. The outside world was literally like another wall. Please do not misunderstand me here. I'm not saying Eren is a slave to freedom, but since he doesn't want to sacrifice his friends, the future of parody, he's choosing within his own free will to use the rumbling to reach his goal. If you believe Eren is seen displaying a psychopathic nature, even though he's literally feeling horrible and showing how he feels to Ramsey about what he knows he's going to do in the future, then we simply watched a different series. One quote that I believe would destroy this argument is, Eren states,
他人から自由を奪われるくらいなら俺はそいつから自由を奪う
Now in this part we're speaking about why the ending or chapter 139 is bad, and specifically how it ruins Eren's character. First, let's establish what a retcon is. So, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, their definition is the act, practice, or result of changing an existing fictional narrative by introducing new information in a later work that recontextualizes previously established events, characters, etc. A quick example of a retcon is how the Last Jedi decided to deal with Luke Skywalker. In the movie Return of the Jedi, we see a stronger, more mature Luke trying to lead his father to the light, wanting him to let go of his anger and hatred. When faced with the choice to kill his father or to let him live, he chooses to let him live, which ultimately leads his father back to the light. And in the end, we see Vader redeemed, the Emperor defeated, and the Jedi Order restored. The ending displays Luke as a beacon of hope, and that he relies on the Force. But in The Last Jedi, Luke is much older. He should be much more mature, stronger in the Force, and reliant on the fact that the world needs Jedi. But in the movie, Luke senses the darkness inside Kylo and instantly tries to snuff out his grandson. And after he completely cuts off everyone, including the Force, and leaves his friends to fight by themselves, he just instantly gives up. This is a huge contrast between Return of the Jedi and what it displays and what The Last Jedi displays. So pretty much, Luke went from strong-willed, faith-based, and believing the Force is good to a depressed man who quits on the Jedi Order to leave innocents to be killed. Another huge retcon is Emperor Palpatine coming back. Unlike the Legends comics, this twist comes out of left field in the canon movies and ruins everything Luke and Leia did in the previous movies. Please keep this in mind because this has to do with an important figure in the ending of Attack on Titan. Again, please remember the definition that I gave and the examples I gave. The examples I gave clearly fulfill the definition of a retcon, which is again, changing an existing fictional narrative that introduces new information that recontextualizes previously established events or characters. Luke Skywalker acting the way he did comes out of nowhere. Emperor Palpatine coming back has no foreshadowing, it undermines character development, and again, it's random. It's horrible writing. So now that I've established what a retcon is, I'll be going back to previous chapters or episodes to explain my reason for why the last chapter is horrible. But Eren established that the reason why he hurt his friends, emotionally and physically, was to push them away so he could kill him and make them look like heroes. The second half is a retcon. Now I do agree, Eren says those things in the table scene to push his friends away so they get distant from him. Eren before this also states he wondered why he was hurting his friends in the first place. This within itself makes no sense. I believe a simple explanation for this scene is Eren was frustrated and Armin post time skip. Armin was so focused on just talking, and his memories quite literally led him to falling for the enemy, Annie. Before the time skip, if talking never worked, Armin had a backup plan. After he ate Berthold, what real plans did he come up with besides the attack on Liberio? Now about Mikasa. I don't believe Eren truly hated her, but just like Armin, I believe he was frustrated with her as well. Mikasa continues to have this false view of Eren like he hasn't changed. I mean, she literally says this to herself in chapter 123. Eren wants her to wake up to get rid of this false idea of him. That's why he brings up the Ackerman bond. Based off the scene with Zeke, Eren knows the Ackerman bond is untrue. He just uses it as frustration because she has always tried to stop him from moving forward. So I believe Eren in this scene is being truthful with some lies sprinkled into his words. but in the end, he's trying to cut ties with them because they don't understand him and they don't have what it takes to keep Paradis safe. And my next problem is, there are zero signs that Eren pushed them all away so they can be viewed as heroes. Eren wants them to live long lives. But, previous to this chapter, his goal was to promise Paradis safety, which he put above his desire for his friends to live long lives. In chapter 133, Eren brings the Alliance to the past and establishes that he will not stop the rumbling. He will not leave Paradis to fate, which leads to Eren telling the Alliance that he won't take away their freedom, but he acknowledges because of their strong convictions, the only thing they can do is collide. In other words, fight. There is no indication of him wanting them to be viewed as heroes. There is no indication of him lying to them. This part of the conversation with Eren and Armin comes out of nowhere, just like the rest of the chapter. Eren has clearly established he has his motivations. They have their motivations. He is not going to change. They're not going to change. Even before this, Eren says that he will move forward. So again, how is this not a retcon? Not to mention, back in season 1, Pixis has brought up a quote that occurred before the Titans had full control of the world. He states to Eren, if something beyond man appears before us as a powerful foe, mankind will take up arms together in unity. And Eren states that it seems optimistic and it doesn't interest him. And at that time, he found it hard to say humanity was even united. So why would Eren all of a sudden come up with this plan? This is not his character, and it makes zero sense for him to all of a sudden change his mind on this topic. Eren also establishes in this first conversation that every surviving human will owe them gratitude. This is completely wrong. Based on the ending or the last panel, we know that didn't happen. But Eren believing in this makes no sense. Eren has seen how the outside world is cruel and hates Eldians, and assuming that the rest of the world will believe Armin even though none of them saw him kill Eren. Eren killed 80% of the world, yet we're supposed to believe the world will believe Armin's words. Yet, it makes no sense for Eren even to trust in Armin at this point in the story. Every time Eren has put his trust in Armin to talk his way out, he fails. He fails to defend Eren at Trost. He fails to talk Annie to go into the basement. He fails to talk Berthold out of fighting. He fails at making peace talks. He fails at stopping Daz and Samuel from detonating the bombs. So again, why would Eren trust him when every time he's tried to talk his way out, he fails? And how is it possible for the world to believe him when they have no proof that he killed Eren? Eren then states that he doesn't understand Ymir's heart and that she was waiting for Mikasa to free her. He also includes the fact that she loved King Fritz, who was a rapist, a slave owner, and a physical and mental abuser. Do I even have to explain how these are retcons or why they're retcons? The fact that Eren says that only Ymir knows why she chose Mikasa, and the fact that he only moved forward just to see the result of her choice, speaks for itself. After everything I've showed you guys, this comes out of nowhere. First of all, Eren freed Ymir in 122. Zeke even confirms this in 137. Zeke couldn't understand Ymir, but Eren could. In chapter 122, we see Eren expressing that Ymir has been waiting for him for 2,000 years. And we know she's been waiting specifically for him, as when we finally get to see her eyes for the first time, instead of listening to Zeke who has royal blood, she listens to Eren. So this is a clear retcon. There is no justifying this overriding, as Eren has shown through the time skip that every decision he has made has been according to his own will. Everything that he's done is what he wanted. He's free, but the ending tells us scratch that. Eren is a literal plot device to push Ymir's ideals. Instead of Eren and Ymir being on the same page like we see in chapter 122 and 33, we see the opposite. So again, this is a retcon. I mean, the name of the episode is literally called From You, 2,000 years ago, and the first episode is called To You, in 2,000 years. It's literally in the title. Ymir chose Eren, and not Mikasa. If you believe Ymir loved King Fritz, where is the proof? If she loved him, why didn't she heal from her wound? Why is she depressed every time she's around him? Until the ending. If you believe Eren was moving forward to see Mikasa's choice, where is this indicated before the ending? Because I can show you where Eren flat out says he's moving forward to protect Paradis. That's his number one goal, not to see Mikasa's choice. Another sad thing is, if you believe this is good writing, you are saying Eren parallels King Fritz, when in reality, it's the total opposite. Eren's conversation with Ymir reveals he's literally the total opposite of King Fritz. It's like Isayama forgot this part of the story. It's mind-boggling. So again, Eren was the one who freed Ymir, not Mikasa. I also forgot to mention, in order for you to believe Mikasa freed Ymir, you have to believe she parallels Ymir. But that's wrong as well. Ymir really parallels Historia. Ymir was forced to live a life she never wanted. Enslavement, in other words. And if Isayama actually went through with his original ending, Eren would have stopped this from happening with Historia. He wouldn't have let Historia and her children be sacrificed, and if he went with the full-scale rumbling, their child would be free from the cycle of hatred. But I'll speak more on this later. Eren then begins to say he dragged his friends into combat not knowing if they would survive. So you're telling me Eren didn't know if Sasha, Flock, and Hanji wouldn't die? Eren didn't know if they would survive the battle during the rumbling, or during the battle of Shingashina, before he unlocked the full powers of the Founding Titan? Remember during the Battle of Liberia when Sasha was shot and he asked what were Sasha's last words? When he found out what she said, he cried, right? Why? Because he saw those memories beforehand, just like when he saw Mikasa's answer and Ramsey dying. He wanted to confirm all those things, and that's before he came in contact with Zeke. Now once he received the Founding Titan's power, how is it possible after receiving all the power in the world he doesn't know if his friends will survive or not? I mean, he literally says he's able to see the past and future. How could he not know if his friends would die or not? But everyone who defends this ending says, oh, he stopped the run because he cared about his friends. Yet he literally just said he didn't know if his friends would survive. For all he knows, his 80% plan could fail. Again, this takes away Eren's growth as a character. Post time skip, Eren is focused and confident in his ability to reach his goal. But here he's nothing like the Eren we were shown. Apparently he was just acting, even though there are zero signs he was acting up until this horrible ending. During this conversation as well, Eren says his head is messed up due to the Founding Titan's powers. Yet his head is well enough to tell Armin his entire plan without leaving a single part out? This makes zero sense. Prior to chapter 139, it is made clear Eren is calculated. In chapter 131, Eren is giving a monologue that shows that everything happened according to his will. It's what he wanted. He planned everything. And as stated in chapter 133, he again brings up his plan to the Alliance, and nothing prior to this chapter indicates that his head is messed up. If Eren is lying, where is the indication that he's lying? Isayama did not display that Eren is an unreliable narrator. There is zero proof anybody can show that Eren is an unreliable narrator. Zero. Now to talk about Eren having to kill his mother, it's awful. Eren's mother is what made him feel special. She's what made him understand that he's special, simply because he was born to this world. During chapter 131, Eren wondered what his mother would think if she knew the atrocities that he would commit. So Eren clearly holds his mother in high regard. She's the most precious person to him. Eren hated Titans as a child, and for him to just directly cause his mother dying is horrible. It just completely undermines his development. Imagine if these characters had the power to time travel. Imagine if Spider-Man went back in time to kill his Uncle Ben. Imagine if Batman went back in time to kill his parents. Imagine if Ezio went back in time to kill his family members. This will completely ruin their agency as a character. Carla getting eaten was already explained prior to this chapter. Dinah made a vow saying she will find Grisha. He didn't have to touch this part of the story. It again just ruins their agency, and Isayama just pulled this out of his behind. So, Eren has never had any romantic feelings for Mikasa, and he has never had any romantic scenes with her. And if there are any scenes that are considered romantic, it has always been one-sided. Mikasa has been the only one to show any romantic signs for Eren, not the other way around. It has never been equal. First, let's establish what Isayama said in interviews. In 2014, in Attack on Titan guidebook, Isayama states, "Of course I am not speaking of all mangaka, but with my mentality as a male mangaka, I think it's pitiful if Mikasa's life is only about staying together with Eren. However, to Mikasa, it is a wonderful thing to be with Eren forever." In 2015, Gekkin Shinjiki no Kyojin, Volume 3, Isayama states, "For Eren, rather than a lover, Mikasa's presence is more like a mother to him. The love towards a mother is considered valuable, precious. However, at the same time, there are annoying parts as well, just like towards one's actual mother. Eren will start to grow up when he becomes independent, move away, or not dependent on Mikasa. I might draw the scene one day." And in his guidebooks, Isayama also states that Mikasa was adopted by the Jaeger family, and she loved Eren as a brother. The guidebooks also state the scarf that Eren gave to Mikasa as a present when she was adopted by the Jaegers is one of her prized possessions. Mikasa most likely sees it as an item that symbolizes the beginning of her bond with her new family. And in another guidebook, it says Mikasa was rescued from 3 robbers, and her father arranged for her to become a member of the family. So, what does this prove? This proves that prior to the ending, Eren has never viewed Mikasa as a romantic figure in his life. He viewed her as a mother. She's precious to him, but she's been annoying to him, and we see this throughout the series. And he does eventually become independent. So every scene we see of Eren and Mikasa together, whether it's romantically or non-romantically, Eren views her as a mother or a sister. Even the scarf isn't seen as romantic. It's seen from Eren's point of view as a sign of protection. As I read, Grisha planned to adopt Mikasa, and later on in the series, when Grisha is speaking to the royal family, he describes Mikasa as his daughter. You can't get around that. Now, as stated, Isayama stated Mikasa loved Eren as her brother, but clearly Isayama retconned that over time. So now that I've established these things, let's go over some popular scenes in the anime, and keep in mind what I read. When you watch these scenes, they have context now. In chapter 50, Mikasa is confessing her love and care for Eren, and Eren rejects it. Yes, he rejects it. He sees his friends are close to death, and instead of being complacent and accepting death, he chooses to fight. Now, some may say, this scene is romantic, just listen to what he's saying about the scarf. You mean the same scarf he told Louise to throw away? You can't also forget I established the scarf isn't a sign of love to Eren, it's a sign of protection, and this includes the time he first saved her. Oh, but he's blushing with her. He also blushes when he states he wants his friends to live long lives. Does that mean he loves all his friends romantically? No, he just wanted them to be protected, just like how he was happy he protected her. It was his first time meeting her as well. Now what about chapter 123? Why is Eren asking Mikasa what is he to her? Is it a confession scene? No, look at the context. He wanted to see if the future could change. The entire time Eren is at Marley, he's depressed. Everything he's seeing is just like how he saw in his future memories. He ended up saving Ramsey, just like he saw in his memories. And he knew he was going to end up killing him. That's why he was crying when she walked up to him. And because she didn't change her answer, he knew the future he saw won't change. Keep in mind, Mikasa is ignoring Eren's depression the entire time. But she loves him? What about chapter 68, when Eren's looking at Mikasa? Is this a sign of romance? No. He sees Mikasa lifting heavy barrels, and it reminded him of how he wasn't strong enough to save his mother. It has nothing to do with romance. It's about her strength and how useless he was as a child. Now what about chapter 138, when she ran off with him because she answered differently? This would never happen. If Eren ran off with Mikasa, he would have never had the Valentine powers, and since Eren never got them, that whole thing would have never happened. But even then, Eren would never do this. He wouldn't abandon his friends, his people, his nation. This chapter itself is a retcon. He would never do this. He could never leave his people to fate. So again, Eren has never loved Mikasa romantically. Never. Every time Eren was near death, he has never cried out for Mikasa. When he was in a Titan's belly, he didn't cry out for Mikasa. When he was in the cave with Historia, he didn't cry out for Mikasa. Even in the scarf scene, Eren didn't even try to kiss her. The relationship realistically could never work. Eren fights for freedom. Mikasa is too complacent. That's what the cabin timeline or memory shows. She's too clingy, too protective. In other words, she restricts him of his freedom. And what does that sound like? A mother figure. The only woman who could love and understand Eren is Historia. Yes, Historia. They have much more chemistry. There's a reason why Mikasa gets jealous in this scene. The scene even proves my point. She acts like his mother in this scene as well. So I know some might say, oh, you're just mad he cried. Oh, you just think Eren is a Chad. No, I'm not mad that he cried. And no, it's not about him being a Chad. It's about his character being consistent. He cried when he was in a Titan's belly. He cried when he was with Historia in the cave. So my problem isn't that he cried. My problem is what he's crying about. He's crying over the wrong things. He's literally about to trample over millions of people. And they're talking about Mikasa's feelings. That's not important. What's important is the fact that you're going to be killing millions, Eren. If you ship Eren and Mikasa, you honestly need to rewatch the show. I 100% believe Isayama just chose to write it this way because of the fan base. It was to make fans like you happy. Because he never wrote or indicated Eren loved Mikasa anywhere. It was always one-sided. It was never Eren loving Mikasa. It was always Mikasa loving Eren romantically. This is just another retcon that ruins the story. And if you pay attention, it's clear as day. And some might bring up the table scene or Eren simply pushing her away the whole time. Yes, he's pushing her away. He wants her to stop being so clingy. He wants her to make her own decisions. Not to kill him, not to set free Ymir, because he's tired of her being so clingy. He wants to be independent. He wants her to be independent. Please don't misinterpret my words. I'm not saying Eren didn't care for Mikasa. He did. But after the time skip, he specifically pushed her, all his friends away because they don't understand him and they didn't want to understand him. And they would have went against his goals. My entire point is he didn't love her like she loved him. They're just simply too different. Eren then goes on to say he will destroy 80% of the world, which will cause parity in the outside world to be equal in civilization. So there won't be a one-sided reprisal or retaliation. But then he says that the conflict won't end. Obviously, Eren has repeatedly stated he knows how to end all conflict, and that is by destroying the outside world. Eren knows how cruel the world is. Why would he give his people up the chance? This plan is so stupid. Literally, every other plan would have been better than the 80% plan. But again, this entire plan is a contradiction to Eren's character. He didn't choose the other plans because he didn't want to sacrifice Astoria, he didn't want to do a partial rumbling which would leave his people with a chance, and he didn't want to wipe out his race using the euthanization plan. Why? Because that just goes against his character. Eren believes everyone that is born to the world deserves freedom at birth. He doesn't want to leave his people with a chance because, like I said, the world hates his people. That's how Isayama built the world. That's how Isayama wrote the story. Everyone hates parody. So with this horrible plan, Eren destroys 80% of the world and leaves Eldia to chance. So when they repopulate, they will remember what he's done and come back with that same hatred to destroy parody. Eren knows he must destroy the cycle of hatred in order to sustain his people long term. No other plan would have done this. Isayama gave Eren two options: fight and live or give up and die. And with this plan, Eren's choosing to die. And his people may live a couple centuries longer than they did in the manga, but in the end, the future generations get wiped off the face of the earth. This is why we see Eren telling himself to fight. He knows what he must do, and I just have to say, when I hear fans of the series say, if you support the rumbling, you're a genocide lover or you're a fascist, please stop it. This is what Isayama wrote. If Eren doesn't fight, he loses. He dies. His people die. There is no future generations. Because of his motivations, no other plans work. As cruel as it is, him committing to the rumbling, it will give him true freedom. This is what the ending indicates. The cycle will continue if Eren doesn't fulfill that goal. We have to remember, this is the story that Isayama wrote, and the story gave Eren no other option. He wrote Eren in a specific way, with specific ideals, with specific goals, to fulfill the overarching purpose of the story. And for those things to be fulfilled, Eren has to stay consistent to how Isayama wrote him in previous scenes. It blows my mind when I talk to other people about the ending, and they say the 80% plan was what he wanted. But this is not indicated nowhere before this horrible ending. This is why I show Eren's motivations in Season 1. Even in Season 1, it was foreshadowed that he was meant to destroy the entire outside world. Not because he was crazy, but because it's simply how he achieves freedom. He can't achieve freedom destroying 80% of the world and choosing to allow himself to die. Him killing 80% of the world causes the future generations to be burdened with his sins, which leads to their deaths. Nothing can hold him according to Levi in Season 1. Yet now he's being held down by determinism and slavery to freedom. Yet again, like I said, Levi said nothing can hold him back. And even when he was in the past, there was chains holding him back and he broke free from them. I'm gonna go more in depth with this later, but Eren was never a slave to freedom. Once again, it blows my mind when I have conversations with people about this ending and I ask them, where is it foreshadowed or indicated that Eren will only destroy 80% of the world prior to the horrible ending? And nobody can show me anything. They call me media illiterate. They say it doesn't have to be foreshadowed. I just like Chad Eren. I need to rewatch the show. He's just a teenager. Or it doesn't contradict his character. But I've shown multiple times throughout this video, Eren has established he will destroy 100% of the world in Season 1, Season 3, and all throughout Season 4. Oh, but genocide is wrong. He shouldn't be killing men's people. He shouldn't be killing women and children. What do you think they would have done to them? If Eren, every time he fought against Reiner and Bertholdt, what do you think would have happened if he lost? What would have happened if he lost? They would have took the founding Titan and they would have wiped him out. They would have wiped the Eldians out at Marley and the camps, and they would have attacked Paradis, killing everybody. So you can't say it's not kill or be killed, because it is kill or be killed according to the story. Before the time skip and after. You can't get around that. Oh, but if Eren kills 100% of the world, the conflict won't end. Yes, it will end. It's not about humanity itself. It's about the outside world and Paradis. That's what the story's about. Their beef. The outside world hates Paradis. Eren kills the outside world and there is no beef anymore. It's gone. Oh, but Eren wouldn't be able to kill his friends. That's not like his character. He allowed Sasha to get killed. He brought them into the war and he didn't even know they would survive. So the ending says the total opposite. If he cares about his friends so much, he wouldn't have involved them. He wouldn't let Sasha die. He wouldn't have let Hanji die. He wouldn't have let Levi get hurt. Oh, but Eren is the villain of the story. He's the one committing genocide. Who attacked the walls? Who caused Eren to fight back? It was Marley. They sent the pure titans to the walls. They sent the warriors to attack them, to take the fallen titan back. Eren didn't start this story. He simply defended himself and his people and his friends. If you can't see that, I don't know what show you watched. It's so clear. And no, Eren should not just let Armin do his peace talks. Look at chapter 138. Eren and Mikasa runs away, leaving Armin and Paradis to fend for themselves. And this is if Eren hadn't attacked Marley during the declaration of war. So please tell me, if Eren shouldn't do the full-scale rumbling, what should he do? He can't just do a partial rumbling since the outside world is much bigger and the technology is growing as well. Just look at what happened to Reiner. He almost died in the first episode of season 4. So again, there is zero indication or foreshadowing of Eren destroying 80% of the world. These people who say you're a media illiterate or call you a casual or say it's not a retcon are the ones who need to rewatch the story. I'm sorry for the side tangent, but this is my point. Eren chooses to rely on his comrades in season 1. And what happens to them? They get destroyed. Eren chooses to rely on himself in the cave of Historia. And what happens? He saves himself and his friends. And this is what happened in the end. Eren chooses to rely on his friends and they all get wiped out later in the future. This part of the story is a clear retcon and regresses Eren's character. Eren then says the 80% plan is determined, taking away all agency this character had. His freedom, his motivations, his desires were all determined. He is no longer a character but a plot device. Also, Mikasa can free Ymir. Please imagine this happened to any other character in fiction. Naruto, Batman, Spider-Man. Imagine if every single thing they did or said was determined. Imagine if Naruto was determined to become Hokage. Everything he did wouldn't matter because no matter what, he would have always been Hokage. It takes away his agency. Imagine if Bruce was determined to become Batman, or if Peter was determined to become Spider-Man. It takes away from their greatness, and it undermines what they both stand for as a character. It takes away their freedom of choice. Now, Eren being determined to destroy 80% of the world takes away his determination, strength, and agency. As I quoted before, Levi stated Eren is a monster. It doesn't matter how much he's held back or what cage he's in. No one can force him to submit, and it has nothing to do with his Titan powers. Eren's goal was 100% rumbling, and if he was a true monster, nothing would be able to hold him back. Not fate, not determinism, not his love for his friends, nothing, nobody. When the chains in the past was holding him, he didn't give up. He broke free. Fate couldn't hold him because of his strong will to fight against it. And I just have to make a little side tangent. I know some might say, well, he literally couldn't win the fight. Z died, so there was nothing he could do. If this is true, how and why did Eren turn to Colossal Titan? If Eren is still able to turn to Colossal Titan, that should mean he is still able to use the Fallen Titan's powers, which means the rumbling shouldn't have stopped. The reality is, if Eren's free will and determination wasn't taken from him, killing the Alliance and everyone else would be no problem. Eren literally chose to handicap himself instead of going through with it. This whole battle between Eren and the Alliance could have been over at any time. Remember in previous seasons when there were actually stakes in the fights? Like you really wonder if the main cast will survive or not. This doesn't exist during the Battle of Heaven and Earth. The Alliance has infinite plot armor, all the Titan shifters were fighting against the Alliance yet none of them die? This shouldn't be possible. Eren has the power of a literal god. The reality is, Z shouldn't be able to be talking no jutsu about Armin. Every time he attempts to talk his way out of situations, he fails. And there's no way Grisha, Kruger, or Ymir will fight against Eren. Kruger sacrificed his own people for the future of Eldians. He says he swore to get revenge on Marley, and to restore Eldia. He had to cut off the fingers of those he wanted to protect, to skin them alive and turn them into titans. If he sacrificed the aliens in the outside world for the aliens at Paradis to live, he would definitely allow the Roman to kill aliens that hated aliens at Paradis. Now, it seems that Eren showed Grisha a memory of the future that made him change his mind on giving him the Attack Titan. Some say the scenery was the freedom scene, but no. Eren committing genocide is what made Grisha tell Z to stop him. So the only thing Eren could have shown him is the restoration of Eldia, them achieving true freedom. Also, Grisha wanted Eren to avenge Carla. So in the end, Grisha gave him his powers for the sake of Paradis. He would have never sided with the outside world. Again, keep in mind, all three of these characters share the same Titan. Kruger stated that this Titan has always moved ahead, seeking freedom. It has always fought for freedom. That's how the Attack Titan works. But now they're fighting against freedom in the final chapters. They're saving the same people who want to wipe Eldians out. They wouldn't have done this. They would have been on Eren's side all the way to the end. Now let's look at freckled Ymir. Ymir had faith that his story would be safe inside the walls because of the power Eren had. Eren completing the rebellion would have secured the island's future forever, and it would have guaranteed Historia's safety. Isayama literally weakened Eren physically and mentally just so the Alliance can win. Again, the truth is Eren had the power of a god. He had all the power in the world. The only way Eren lost is because Isayama nerfed him and made him accept his fate, even though there are soundtracks that speak about going against fate.
Auf die Titanen. Der Junge von einst wird bald zum Schwert greifen. Wer nur seine Machtlosigkeit beklagt, kann nichts verändern. Der Junge von einst wird bald das schwarze Schwert ergreifen. Hass und Zorn sind eine zweischneidige Klinge. Bald eines Tages wird er den
Eren wouldn't lay down and die even if he was truly determined to kill only 80% of the world, and he definitely wouldn't allow his friends to look like heroes. If he was willing to kill his mom, he would have definitely been willing to kill his friends. Now about the slave to freedom thing with Eren. First, let's examine Kenny. Kenny was a vicious murderer who enjoyed killing people and the power it gave him. He was a cruel person, lived his life for his own selfish gain, and he realized at the end of his life he couldn't gain something that he could never have because of his horrible character or nature. His dying words represent the man that he had become instead of rising above his own nature to become a better person. There is a distinct difference between obsessing over something to the point of self-destruction like Kenny and striving towards a higher purpose for the benefit of all those whom you live, like Eren. Kenny had no problem killing innocent people. He enjoyed the feeling of getting more powerful. Eren doesn't enjoy killing innocent people. Eren isn't committing the rebellion for power. He's doing it for the benefit of Paradis, to distort the cycle of hatred. Eren was never crazy. I spoke on this already, but Eren didn't view Armin's book like Armin did. He was disappointed the world was full of hatred and bitterness towards his people, and he wished for that hatred to go away, and he learned the only way to get rid of that hatred is through the rumbling. Eren never wanted to kill innocents. That's why he cried before Ramsay. If Eren was never hated and persecuted just for being an Eldian in the first place, he would have never needed to fight in the first place. Eren's ideology is this: anyone tries to take away his freedom, he won't hesitate to take theirs. He doesn't want to take away their innocent lives, but in order to have true freedom, he has to take away theirs, or the cycle will continue. Also, Eren couldn't stand the thought of being called a slave to anything at the table scene, but now he does. That's a clear contradiction. Eren as a mental slave to freedom is not represented at all. Eren wasn't chained to freedom. Eren wasn't chained to his desires. His desire is freedom in the form of no more persecution for who you are, was not to see his home obliterated. Eren stated everything happened according to his own will. He chose to do the rumbling. It was his decision. But if you say Eren's a mental slave, you're saying he's not making his own decisions. It is within his nature to hurt and murder people that he views is within his way, whether innocent or not, just like Kenny. If Eren was a mental slave to freedom, he would have never tried looking for other options. He wouldn't have went to Marley for peace talks. He would have ignored every other plan and went straight to the rumbling. But let's say he is a mental slave to freedom. He wouldn't have stopped at 80%. He would have continued without caring for his friends or anyone else because he has no choice in the matter. So no, Eren's fate was never determined. He always had a choice, and if there was at any point where Eren was powerless and couldn't do anything, he fought against and used his strong will. Eren being a slave to mental freedom makes zero sense, and it will never make sense. Isayama just seen those ending defenders essays and just went right along with it. Eren chose to do the rumbling because he couldn't accept his people getting destroyed. He couldn't leave them to fate. Eren's free. Everything happened according to his will. If Eren is a slave to freedom for literally fighting for his physical freedom outside the walls, then every person in the story is a slave to survival. The people who passed the baby on while they jumped off the cliff are slaves to the desires of protecting children. Do you see how this makes zero sense? Having a desire for freedom and acting upon it because you're in a do or die situation doesn't make you a slave to it. Armin then asks Eren if he did the roaming for his friends, and he literally says no, further proving that he did not do the roaming for his friends. Again, this argument that he cares so much about his friends is thrown out the window. Eren then sees a memory of Grisha telling him he's free, but this again makes zero sense. Grisha knows how cruel the outside world is. He grew up in Marley. He grew up in concentration camps. His sister died just for wanting to see an airship. Grisha knows that there are titans waiting to eat him and that the outside world views them as devils. Eren's entire character has been built on achieving freedom. That's why he did the rumbling. That's what the ocean scene is all about. He got to see the ocean, but he truly isn't free yet. Eren then proceeds to say he just want to fly everything because he want to see the sight. I've established how there's a retcon already, but just real quick again, Eren didn't do the rumbling just because. Eren isn't crazy. Again, his view on Armin's book is different. Just the fact that he states he doesn't know why he wanted to see that sight, just again destroys everything prior to this. Eren chapter 130, why do you want to do the rumbling? To destroy the cycle of hatred. Eren chapter 131, why do you want to do the rumbling? It's for Eldia, but it's more than that. I want to wipe away the hatred in the outside world, to see the outside world freely without hatred and persecution. Eren then proceeds to call himself an idiot who just managed to give himself powers, and blames himself for Flock and everybody else dying. I shouldn't even have to explain how this is a retcon, but it's clear anime owners forgot about what occurred during the Uprising arc in Season 3. You know what, I'm gonna just show clips from Season 3, and I'm gonna show you this scene.
いらなかったんだよ。俺も、俺の親父も。親父が5年前に、ここでこんなことをしなければ、お前の姉ちゃんが、すべて何とかしてくれるはずだったんだろう。親父が巨人の力をあるべきところから盗んだせいで、一体どれだけ人が死んだ。アルミンのじいちゃん、トーマス、ナック、ミーナ、ミリウス、マルコ、リヴァイ班のみんな、スタエスクの10人、俺を助けようとした兵士、ハンネスさん。とても俺は償いきれない。いらなかったんだよ。あの訓練の日々も、壁の外への夢も。俺はいらなかったんだ。だからせめてお前の手で終わらせてくれ。俺を食って人類を救ってくれ。あとは任せた。何やってるヒストリア。
エレン逃げるよ。
おいやめろ。俺がこのまま生きてたらみんなが困るんだ。早く俺を食ってくれ。もう辛いんだよ生きてたって。
うるさいバカ。泣き虫黙れ。巨人を駆逐するって誰がそんな面倒なことやるもんか。むしろ人類なんて嫌いだ。巨人に滅ぼされたらいいんだ。つまり私は人類の敵。わかる。最低最悪の超悪い子。エレンをここから逃がす。そんで全部ぶっ壊してやる。
無理だ。もう逃げられない。
じゃあ何もせずにこのままみんなで仲良く潰れるか焼け死ぬのを待つの。私たちが人類の敵だから。
やめてくださいハンジさん。教官の言う通り俺は特別でも何でもなかった。ただ特別な父親の息子だった。それだけだったんです。
お前の母さんは、彼らはこう言っていた。
特別じゃなきゃいけないんですか？私はそうは思いませんよ。少なくともこの子は偉大になんてならなくてもいい。人より優れていなくたってだって見てくださいよ。こんなに可愛い。だからこの子はもう偉いんです。この世界に生まれてきてくれたんだから。
島の生贄になるためだけに生まれる子を産ませ、親子同士を食わせ続けるような真似は俺がさせない。
私はエレン、あなたを何としてでも止めないと。二度と胸を張って生きていくことができない。
耐え難いなら始祖の力で記憶を操作する。それまでお前が黙っていれば。
そんなこと
できるさ。お前はあの時俺を救ってくれた。世界一悪い子なんだから。こう伝えるんだ。全てのエルディア人を今後永久に子供を作れない体にしろと。地ならしで連合軍を潰すのはその後でいい。全てのエルディア人を安楽死させる。エレン、こんなふざけた計画、俺は到底受け入れられない。悪いが兄さん、俺はここに来るためにあんたに話を合わせていただけだ。エルディア人がいる限りこの地獄は終わらないんだぞ。お前がここでやらなければこの先も殺し合いは終わらない。俺たちが繰り返してきたことがずっと続く。なぜだエレン、答えてくれ。俺がこの世に生まれたからだ。全てはお前らを守るためだって思ってた。だがサシャもハンジさんも俺のせいで死んで、フロックたちと殺し合いまでさせることになった。どうしてこうなったのかやっと分かった。バカだからだ。どこにでもいるありふれたバカが力を持っちまった。だからこんな結末を迎えることしかできなかった。そういうことだろう。
He did not see the retcon. Eren felt like he didn't deserve to live. He blamed himself for his friends dying. He didn't think he deserved his powers. His story frees Eren physically from the chains that held him down, saving him from being eaten. And she saved him mentally, making him understand that they're both enemies of humanity. They're friends, and she gives him the will to live. Carla's words combined with Historia's words make him understand again. He deserves to live. He's simply special because he's born into the world. And we see how much these words affected Eren in Season 4. When Eren tells the story of his plan, he brings back what she told him in the cave scene. She first rejects his plan to destroy the entire world, but he reminds her she's the worst girl in the world. She's an enemy of humanity. They are both enemies of humanity. When Eren reveals to Zeke he will not go along with his plan, Zeke asks him why, and Eren says because he was born into this world, bringing back Carla's words. This scene just destroys the Uprising arc to its entirety. Everything Isayama built in Season 3 is destroyed. This scene is just so retarded. I don't know what Isayama was thinking. If Eren didn't feel like he was special, that he didn't deserve his powers, he would have given his powers up. He would have went along with Zeke's plan. Nobody will be able to convince me that this is not crap writing. Isayama again retconned Eren's beautiful character development to pander to an audience who doesn't understand Eren. Eren didn't do the roaming for childish reasons. It's literally impossible to come to this conclusion if you actually pay attention to everything prior to the ending. I just hate that they hug in this scene. Eren wants sympathy and Armin shouldn't be given any. In the manga, he literally thanks him for killing 80% of the world, but they get rid of that line in the anime. But he indirectly thanks him by hugging him and stating they'll be in hell together. Armin should not be hugging him. He should be rejecting him. And Eren shouldn't be looking for sympathy either. He should be accepting the sins he's committing, but again,
Isayama forgot how to write Eren's character.
Alright, skipping to the last part of the episode, we see in his story's letter that the outside world is suffering from the destruction of the rumbling, and because Eren left the 20% of the world alive, Parody forms a military group called the Jaegers out of fear that the outside world will attack out of revenge. Thanks, Eren. And the anime clearly shows that they are united. I will expound on this later. His story exclaims that even with the Titan Curse gone, somehow, the conflict will not go away. Just like Eren said to Armin, please remember this. We then see Mikasa at Eren's grave with the same scarf that Eren gave her years ago, and a bird that's supposed to symbolize Eren wraps the scarf around her again. Years pass and we see Mikasa die with that same scarf around her neck. We then see later in the future Parody gets bombed by the outside world. In the manga, it looks like the attack occurred a couple centuries into the future, while the anime extends the time until Parody was destroyed. It then proceeds to show a boy running back into the tree, which clearly signals that the cycle will somehow continue. So, some people claim that Parody getting bombed is the result of a civil war, but there is literally zero context of a civil war occurring, especially Parody destroying themselves. First of all, when the Jaegers take full control of Parody, the people support them, and support the attack Eren did on Liberio. Nearly all of them agree on the rumbling. There were barely any Eldians that disagreed. They didn't hate the rumbling, they just didn't like the collateral damage it caused. But the majority agrees it's necessary for Eldian survival, especially since Zeke's wine killed all the old regime and military officials. There isn't anyone to oppose the Jaegers. The entire military and the citizens of Parody do not feel bad about the rumbling, or for the people out in the outside world, because the outside world broke the wall and killed 20% of the population. They declared war on Parody, and again, in the ending, Jaegers have full control and support from the people. Everyone is clearly in union. Shaders say the Jaegers have full support on Parody. One guy criticizes Eren and 10 guys show up to defend Eren. This isn't going to start a war, unless half of Parody hates Eren, which isn't true, since there are so many scenes of Parody civilians celebrating the rumbling. Many people try to use the quote, "Humanity will never stop fighting itself until it shrinks of one or fewer," by Erwin. But this quote has nothing to do with Eren's plan. He can't stop human nature, but what he can stop is the hatred that the outside world holds for Eldians. That's the biggest problem. That's the main problem of the story. And that's what his goal was the entire time. That quote from Erwin has nothing to do with the ending and has nothing to do with the story post time skip. And let's say you still believe a huge civil war will occur if you disregard everything I stated. Again, just look at the context. How can anyone genuinely think the outside world would just forget how Eren, an Eldian, destroyed 80% of the world? How can anyone actually think this? Eren states to Armin that first, there won't be a one-sided reprisal, but the conflict won't end. What conflict is he talking about? The conflict between Eldians and the outside world. His story says the conflict won't end. What conflict is she talking about? The conflict between Eldians and the outside world. Why did Flock beg Hanji and Jean not to kill Eren? Because if they do, the outside world will destroy Eldians. That's literally the point. Furthermore, how and why would civilians get their hands on bombs? Just to bomb themselves? It makes no sense. It doesn't matter how far into the future it is, based on the context of the story, the outside world hates Eldia, and because Eren killed 80% of their world, they recovered and hated Eldians even more, and destroyed them. Eren's 80% plan was horrible and it failed. Now Mikasa, even after Eren's death, we see her wearing his scarf and visiting his grave. This is just insane to me. How was that after Mikasa freed Ymir, kissed Eren's decapitated head right after killing him, she's still wearing the scarf even after he's dead? How is she still infatuated with Eren? She hasn't moved on at all. This is why I said this is a clear retcon and simply horrible writing. It was clear that Eren freed Ymir and made sense, but this doesn't make any sense. How can she free Ymir and she lets go of her love for King Fritz, but Mikasa still loves Eren after he's dead and she's still infatuated with him? I can't imagine how Jean feels making babies with Mikasa and she still has that musty scarf on. In the end, before chapter 139, Eren was right, Flock was right, and Historia was right. It's funny, out of every character to stay consistent, it was Flock. People love to hate on his character, but nobody can deny his character stayed consistent and he developed greatly. Eren before chapter 139 had clear motivations. He fought for freedom, for himself, his people, for Historia, for his friends, even if they were against it. And he was determined, focused, calculated, confident, and tenacious to reach that goal. Literally nothing could stop him. Only Isayama could. And he did through Ymir, changing his motivations at the last minute, making determinism stop him, making him a slave to freedom, which again makes no sense. If Eren was willing to kill his mom, manipulate his father to reach freedom, he will be willing to kill his own friends. But again, Isayama had to nerf his will and determination in order for this to happen. One of my favorite scenes in the anime displays how strong Eren's will was. Eren could have given up and died just like he did in the ending, but no. What did he do? He decided to fight.
エレン、俺はもう終わりにしたい。俺とお前のどこが同じなんだ。もういいだろう。もう眠れ。
In a do or die situation, Eren has always displayed he will fight before the time skip and after. Eren was determined to do a full-scale rumbling because he knew the consequences if he didn't. But because Eren didn't destroy the entire outside world, everything Eren did was for nothing. Eren attacked Molly for nothing, he killed innocents for nothing, Eren hurt his friends for nothing, Eren killed 80% of the world for nothing. Eren lost all his agency, all of his beautiful character development, all because of his horrible ending. I will never understand how anyone likes any aspect of this ending. I remember when I found out how the manga ended back in 2021, I was flabbergasted. I feel like I had wasted all my time. That's why I looked into anime original ending theories. But as you can see, that fell flat. I actually hadn't watched the ending until I started editing this video, and watching it for the first time was so disappointing. It was even more disappointing seeing the majority of anime onlys liking the ending. I got so passionate in the majority of this video because I know the potential the story had. People tell me I just expected a lighthearted, happy ending, but that's literally what we got. Annie, a woman who killed scouts for fun, got to live a happy life with her father, Reiner. His character arc was clearly being built on sacrificing his life after being full of regret for things he did. He also got a happy ending. I will always hate this ending. No amount of code will change that this ending is garbage. It doesn't matter that the majority think it's good. If you remember everything that happened prior to this ending, then you would know realistically this ending is pure garbage. If you like this ending, I can't even say I feel happy for you, because I 100% believe Isayama changed this ending to pander to Eren and Mikasa shippers, when in reality, she wasn't that important up until this ending. His story was literally sidelined and smashed by a dude who she did not care about, which also retcons her character because she was replaced by Mikasa, and because she was replaced by Mikasa, Mikasa herself, her character was destroyed. Throughout the entire time skip, she's all about Eren. Her final arc should have been her letting go of Eren, but instead, she sticks to Eren even after he's dead. And before the video ends, I just have to go back and talk about a couple more things. Eren in the ending says he's seen his 80% plan at the reward ceremony, but this is false. I must ask, if this was true, why does he understand that Eren seen something farther into the future? Already established, Eren showed a sight that made Grisha give him the Founding Titan and Attack Titan. And it wasn't a rumbling, since that's what led him to telling Zeke to stop Eren. So this means that Eren was alive after the rumbling, and he made sacrifices to get there. Grisha seen the restoration of Eldia, which means Eren did as well. This is a clear retcon. Eren never seen himself lose or make the alliance like heroes prior to the ending. It is another random thing that came out of nowhere. One of my least favorite parts about the ending, honestly I hate all of it, but I really just don't like how Eren's determination was taken from him. Some people say Eren didn't stop the rumbling, but he did. During the fight with the Alliance, Eren turns into the Colossal Titan. I'm gonna repeat myself again. If Eren needs Zeke to have access to the Founder, how did he turn into another Titan who he never inherited? How did he give memories to the Alliance after he died? Because he still had access to the Founder. And even if he didn't have access to the Founder, after Zeke died in chapter 137, it's established in the same chapter. It's also Ymir's will for the world to be destroyed. So Eren and Ymir are in agreement, so the rumbling should continue. But now, since it's clear he still had access to the Founding Titan's powers, this means he could have continued the rumbling for freedom, to see that sight. But no, Isayama took away his agency and his strong will away. I've had so many conversations with people about this ending in real life, online, even on the game. In every conversation, people make things up whenever they defend the ending. That just goes to show how horrible the ending is, and how horrible the ending of Eren's character is. I made this video specifically about Eren, but I could have went into detail about how Eren how did Sokka learn to power so quick. Armin's character was all time before he surpassed. Yeah, he performed was aged whenever someone's in past. At the end of the day, the ending sucks, and I wish it ended differently. Isayama gave him to peer pressure and changed it, which is why there's so many plot holes and why he assassinated Eren's character. I wish Isayama would win his original ending. Maybe one day he will, maybe he won't, but I'll leave the A&R section for the next video. But just know, just because something is canon does not make it good writing, and the canon ending of Attack on Titan does not display good writing. Thanks for watching. In my next video, I'll speak on the A&R ending.